This is Connecting Point with Pastor Wayne Cordero.
On Christmas night of 1996, John and Patsy Ramsey's young daughter was slain by an unknown killer. This tragedy was to become one of the most notorious unsolved mysteries of our time. Coming up next, we'll meet John and Patsy Ramsey, who will share their hearts, their grief, and their faith. Stay with us for this very special interview right here on Connecting Point Live. Nearly 10 years ago, 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey was found murdered in her home. Although there was no evidence that the parents were involved and charges were never filed, unprecedented media coverage served to convict John and Patsy Ramsey in the court of public opinion. While grieving the loss of their daughter, they endured persecution, suffered the loss of their job, their home, and their savings. In all of this, they continued to battle cancer that threatens even now Patsy's life. Many of us would shake our fists at a God who would let this happen, but their faith only grew stronger. Tonight, John and Patsy Ramsey join us to share their story and their faith in God, which has sustained them through their darkest of days. Would you please welcome with me John and Patsy Ramsey? Welcome them, would you? John, please have a seat.
Thank you.
Now, you both have put out a beautiful book here called The Death of Innocence, and this is about the whole ordeal that you went through. Tell us a little bit about JonBenet. What kind of a girl was she, and a little bit about the background of all of this.
She was just fun. She was gregarious. She was always wanting to put on a show and entertain you. And we'd have friends over for dinner, and she'd come down and have orchestrated all the little kids into a little entertainment act after dinner or something.
Now, you'd lost another girl right before that, too, John.
We lost our oldest daughter, Beth, in 1992, and JonBenet was 2. And one thing that was so meaningful to me, even though she was only 2 years old, she really sensed that I was hurting and grieving, and she latched onto me like glue, and it was just a neat feeling for me.
Now tell me what happened. There was a ransom note left in your home.
We got up early that morning, the 26th, we were to leave to meet with our older children.
So it was
in
Christmas
Minneapolis,
time.
Christmas time. It was the day after Christmas. Patsy came down, found a ransom note at the base of the stairs, and screamed, and our life changed from that moment on.
How much did they ask for, John?
$118,000, which was a bizarre number.
Why that amount?
Don't know. We don't know. There's been speculation, but that was a very strange part of the ransom note.
And then how many days later did you find her body?
Well, the note said, I will call you tomorrow, and I didn't know if tomorrow was today or tomorrow was tomorrow, and I thought, my gosh, I can't wait till tomorrow. I can't stand that. But so we waited, and then finally the police asked me to look through the house thoroughly, and I found her in the basement about 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
In your own home, in the basement?
Yes.
Now, after this horrid ordeal where your daughter Beth dies, and then JonBenet is found murdered in your own home, all of this must have taken a huge toll on both of you. And yet, with all the agony, the police focused on you guys.
They did, and I was to learn that the police always focus on the parents initially. Of course, we were in the house, and even though we were shocked at that and dismayed, we thought, well, okay, we understand that, but please don't just focus on us. We accept that, but don't limit it to that. And sadly, in this country, statistically, I think 68% of the time it's a caregiver that's involved in such a tragedy. But you have to cut that one more slice, and in almost all of those cases, all of those 68% of those cases, almost all of them, there's a long history of problems that are well known to police and the social services and the schools and so forth. And of course, that wasn't the case in our case. But we were shocked, but we accepted that at the time.
Now, both of you were people of faith before this took place, and Patsy, when that happened, did you say to God, and how would you let this happen to us?
Well, I think by human, we are human, and we want to ask why. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you I didn't ask why, and why my child. You know, it always happens to someone else. Why my child? But we had a track record with God by that time. We'd lost Beth in the car accident that just rocked our family. Then a year and a half after her accident, I was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer, and God healed me from that. And so we knew God to be faithful regardless of the circumstances. And I think had the ordeal with JonBenet happened prior to those two events, I think it would have just devastated me beyond compare. But because I knew God to be faithful, and that he said he would never leave us or forsake us, that even though I had the why questions and was just grief-stricken beyond description, he just saw me through.
Now, why would kidnappers want to kidnap JonBenet? I know she was in a lot of pageants. She was a pretty little girl, and she had kind of the cover girl face, you know, the little child. It was beautiful. Do you think that worked against her, that kind of publicity?
Well, see, people say, well, she was so famous, so you know, but nobody knew that. I mean, truthfully, we hadn't done the pageants very much. I mean, a lot of this one pageant that we went to had a lot of different categories in it. So you were in sportswear, Western wear, you know, party wear. So it looks like, but that was one event, you know, one weekend event that we went to.
And the audience too were grandparents and parents.
Yeah, there were 8 or 10 people in the room.
We were told by John Douglas, who was the fellow that started the FBI profiling lab, a very brilliant man. That he spent a lot of time looking at it, and his best assessment was that it was someone that was either angry at me or jealous of me, and that's a hard pill to swallow, because I can't imagine anyone being angry with me, or certainly that angry. But I respect his judgment. So
John,
that's the best.
It was just a kidnapping that went bad?
That's what the best detectives have told us. They said, you know, don't read any more into it than is there. And they said, in our opinion, it was a kidnapping, that something went wrong.
What were some of the myths that the media spun that would put you on trial?
Well, probably the first one, in fact, we wanted to make that the title of our book, was No Footprints in the Snow, and that got out there immediately. And of course, we lived in Colorado, and it was winter, but and I hadn't really noticed. I did remember that coming home that evening, there was no snow in the yard or the driveway.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. But then we saw the crime scene photographs that were taken early that morning when the police first arrived, and there was no snow. And so that was the fact, but the fiction got out, No Footprints in the Snow. And as someone said once, when you have a rumor like that, it's like shouting fire in a theater. As everybody's running out, you can say, ooh, just kidding, but they don't hear that part. It's too late. And that, to me, was probably the first thing that got out in the media. And what was interesting too was that the national media was taking information from the local media. So if that came out in the local paper, the local radio station, that immediately got picked up by CBS or ABC. And so it very quickly spread
Now, you were on
wildly.
Barbara Walters.